In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this stylish halter neck princess dart funnel corset asymmetric blouse. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button, and this dress is from Stitches by AC. So to start, here is my pattern paper and I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurements. Now for this pattern, you need your shoulder to bust, your shoulder to under bust, your shoulder to waist, and I'm adding 5 inches extra after my waistline. Now after I'm done marking this, I'll head over to marking my shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 inches divided by 2. I have 7. Now I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Go ahead to mark a basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches to serve as a guide for this pattern. Now from that point, I'll place my ruler and I'll connect to the next point for my neckline. Now connect from your shoulder slope to the tip of your neckline. This is because your shoulder is not on a straight line. Now I'm going to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'll draw out a straight line on that point. Whatever you have on your shoulder, mark it back on your chest line. Now place your ruler and you're going to connect. After you're done connecting, go ahead to place your tape and divide your armhole into 2 equal parts. Come out by ½ inch and mark your bust circumference divided by 4. You want to connect from that point to the ½ inch, and then you're going to connect all the way to the upper part of your pattern. Now after you're done connecting at this point, next you're going to start marking your dart, and for your dart you need your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. Now go ahead to mark a straight line connecting your nipple to nipple line. Now we are going to mark our dart intake. Divide your armhole into 2. Connect down to your bust. After that, for the dart intake, I'll be marking 1.5 here and ½ inch. That is 1.5 here, ½ inch at the front, 1.5 at the side. If you're a plus size, mark 1 inch in front and 2 inches on the other side. So please sorry for the noise at the background. It's actually raining over here. Now I'm just going to go ahead to connect my pattern. After this, I'll place my curved rule, connect from the bust down to the under bust of my pattern, connect from the bust to the under bust on both sides this way. Now after connecting, I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline. After outlining, I'll go ahead to mark ½ inch on both sides of my armhole. That is, I'm taking a dart from there and I'll connect back. Now I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline this. After I'm done marking this, the next step I'll take is to go ahead to measure that dart and I'll replace it here. So why are you replacing this dart? This is because when you're joining your princess dart, in some cases the side seems to be shorter than that of the center. Now connect this back into the armhole of your dress. After you're done doing that, we are now going to go ahead to insert our measurements. Mark your bust circumference divided by 4. Pick the dart intake, replace and add your sewing allowance. So for this particular dress, you don't need much sewing allowance. 1 inch, ½ inch is okay. Now mark your under bust circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake and add your sewing allowance. Now mark your waist circumference divided by 4 and also replace the dart intake. Add ½ inch for your sewing allowance. So after connecting your waist, we'll be moving over to the blouse. Now for this blouse, you mark your hip circumference divided by 4. Now measure the dart intake here. You're going to replace, add ½ inch to your pattern for joining. Now this pattern has like a slight conical effect by the side, which is not that much. You can go ahead to leave this pattern on your actual waistline, or you can go ahead to add an additional 1 inch to your waist pattern. I actually added it to the length of my hip measurement. I added it together with my hip measurement. Now come down by 1.5, which is my bust dart. Now how do you find your bust dart? To find your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches, while at the back I have 15.5. So if I take out 15.5 from 17, what I will have is 1.5. Now from the neckline, I'm just going to go ahead to extend this all the way down, depending on how deep you want your neckline to be. Now the neckline on this dress is not so deep. You can just go ahead to mark this. Use whatever measurements that is okay for you. So from the neckline, you can go out by 1.5 to 2 inches. Connect to the side. Now blending. Now if you notice, I'm not connecting exactly on that ½ inch. I added extra ½ inch to this. Is in case if the sides of the pattern is shorter, it's going to meet up, because most times the center tends to be longer. So if I have any excess by the side, I'll still trim it off. Now from the bust, I'll go down a bit by at least 1.2. You can use 1.2 to 1.5. Now I'll use my freehand sketch to like draw out the curve. Now there's always room for adjustments for all these curves if you feel is not exactly what you want. Now I just did a freehand sketch on this. It's not like I'm actually making the dress, so you can just go ahead to try and trace out exactly what you have on the pattern. So from the waist, I will measure 3.5 inches. Now I'll just go ahead to come up by 2 inches here. I'll mark 2 inches and I'll connect it. After that, I'll now go ahead to blend it out, blend out my pattern, and I'll connect this going all the way to the side, and then I'll now connect it going up to like 3.5 to 4 inches down from the waist of my pattern. Now I'll just go ahead and use my marker and I'm going to connect. Now after I'm done connecting, the next step is to come down by ½ inch and I'll just draw this curve. This is just to define this area to make it look deeper. So I'll just go up by at least 2 inches from there, and I'll come down a bit by ½ inch, go in again and connect it now to the sides of my pattern. Now for this dress, the upper part is actually on top of the main dress. Now you have to cut out the princess dart part, then cut out this upper part that looks like a funnel corset on it, and you will now place both of them together. That is, you're going to make them separately and join them together. Now to cut both of them, I placed another pattern paper underneath. Now you have to like blend out the dart so that the pattern that you'll be cutting out underneath will not have will blend out the dart directly. You don't need to go ahead to start removing the dart on it. Now you get your tracing wheel and trace out the curvy edges that you have. Now also trace out this other part, right? And after that, after tracing all this out, I'll just stop now because I'll still trace it out much later. I'll go in with my scissors and I'll cut out all the unnecessary parts that I don't really need. Just like I said, blend out the main pattern, that is where you drafted it, so that you now cut out the other one directly. Now I'll just go ahead and trace out all these parts that I don't need on my pattern. Now I'll now go ahead to start tracing out the shape, that is all these asymmetric edges that we have on the dress. Now I'll just go ahead to trace it all out. Now after tracing it, I can now go ahead to start cutting. Now after cutting, I will go ahead to unpin this pattern, right? Now after that, you're not seeing these asymmetric lines that I have here because of the tracing wheel, but I'm actually seeing it. So if you're using a tracing wheel, you can see this part. Now I'll just trace it out. So now for this part of this dress, the upper part, all you have to do is to go ahead to place your pattern, the upper part, join it as one piece, join this as one piece, and then place it on it this way. Now let's move over to the back pattern. I've gone ahead to mark out the basic measurement, which is the shoulder to bust, shoulder to underbust, shoulder to waist, and blouse length. So my shoulder to waist is 15.5 inches, which I added 5 inches to get my blouse length. Now I'll come in at this point and I'll mark 1.5 to 2 inches. Now what you do is this measurement I have here, you're going to take it and you're going to replace it or connect it back to the front neckline so that it will make up for the back of the pattern, right? Now after doing that, go ahead. For this pattern, I'll be using a dartless pattern for the back to keep it simple. So I marked my bust circumference and my sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4 and my sewing allowance. Here mark your hip circumference divided by 4, add your sewing allowance, and that extra 1 inch I added directly to my hip measurement when I was actually cutting out the front. Now go ahead to place your ruler and connect, and then connect to the lower part of your pattern. Now whenever I'm cutting out my pattern and the front is so dramatic, like I have a lot to do, I end up like making the back simple. So at the back, I also came down by 1/2 inch from the chest line area and connected it back. Now for the lacing, I used 2 inches, which I marked all the way down. Now I'll just make a dot to indicate I have a lacing there, and from here I'll just go ahead to like create an asymmetric curve for the back. And this is just what we have for the back pattern, and I'll go ahead to cut it out. Also remember to replace the neckline measurement to that of the front so that the outer neck of the dress at the upper part will be complete. So after cutting this, now we are done drafting this particular pattern. So if you have any question, kindly leave it at the comment section.